Welcome back, dear viewers. And this evening we're joined by Hamza Taqi, a master in performance and also a consultant here in our beautiful state of Kuwait. Good evening to you, Hamza.
Good evening, my
Such
friend.
a pleasure to be talking to you.
The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Yusuf.
Thank you so much. So we're going to be talking more about career development and the challenges that faces people in these days.
Yeah, actually, these days there are many challenges because of the fast changes that is happening. You know, AI, digitalization, and all of these gives a lot of choices. And sometimes when the choices are a lot, people kind of, get confused where to go, what to do, and so on. So these are some of the challenges. Other challenges like because we are not knowing what we want as individuals, sometimes you hear others,
Yes.
for example, you go to this field is better, you go to this field, and some people, they go for that advice and they go to a certain career areas, and then they find out it's not for them. It doesn't give them the energy and so on. So they quit and they keep changing career. Yes.
All right. So Hamza Taqi, from your point of view, if somebody goes into a career, as you said, and he doesn't like the environment or he doesn't find his passion in it,
Yeah.
how long would you advise them to stay? A year, 2 years, maybe 3?
Well, that's a tough one because it depends. It depends on the situation of each individual. And if you are able to move to a different area, maybe you are in a certain company or certain establishment. Maybe your department is not the way you want it, so you want to move to another department maybe. So you need to go to other departments and see what they're doing and see if you like what they are doing and it gives you energy. Then you might want to network with them and maybe hopefully a transfer to that department. Or if you don't have that luxury,
Yes.
then look for another job. It's life is short, so better to do something that you really appreciate and like and love, especially when we are young. When we are young, we can explore. You can fail here and do something else. Not in my age, in my age you don't want to change, or you don't want to, keep failing and find out. You should fail in the early days. So when you are mature, you can take the proper decision.
Inshallah, beautiful advice
Yeah.
here, dear viewers, from Hamza Taqi. And Hamza, I want to ask you some practical steps of how people can really advance in their position if they're stuck in one.
Oh. One should have knowledge about the stakeholders, and one should network with those stakeholders so he or she are seen in the stage or on the projects, so they are kind of in a way people notice them. Okay. I remember I used to be, no, I don't need to tell anybody. My work shows what I'm doing, so I don't need to go up and we have another colleague who is like every birthday of the CEO, he's like having cake and going there with their team. They get the bonus, we don't get the bonus. So idea is really to network inside the organization. And and you are liked, you're doing your job, you're always there, you're always taking initiative, and you're positive, you're communicating. So people can, if I have like a group of people and I see you, active and always positive, and I have vacancy, I will tell you, leave that department, come to us. And this is what happens in our organizations. And if you spot somebody who's affluent, who's smart, who's like really creative and on the move and positive, of course, you don't want somebody who's like negative and so on. They don't get the career development opportunities. Yeah.
All right, you shed really really nice light on networking.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be overwhelming for people in these private sectors.
Right.
So what's a successful networking strategy?
Well, there are many ones, but I mean, going to the douanier of the boss and being there and being seen. Uh, Even yeah, like there is a process for anything,
Yes.
and if you really want to reach anywhere, you can reach it once you understand the process. I remember, when we had the parliament, and some people would go through the cooperative society and get elected and become a member of the coop society, and then they try to help the others, and they go to douaniers, the others, and meet people. They go to Azza, they go to weddings and so on. People who are sick, they go and visit them. That's part of the networking, and that's how you get seen by the area that you are in, and you are always available. You are there. Like, for example, if you go to Azza, I know people. They don't go one day or half an hour and they leave. No, they stay there all day. They meet you, and they meet the family members and the friends of that family, and because when you are seen, you become familiar. When you become familiar, people see you with a relaxed way, and then you network. You network.
Yes, as you mentioned, attending a funeral is a part of networking in a good way, and also to advance in such a position. If, for example, God forbid, your manager has a deceased family member, and you do your duties in the funeral, he will appreciate
not in a way like you're being bending yourself. No, but genuinely, doing it genuinely, not because you want to get promoted or something like this. Because when you fake it, people notice. You have to be present and really, truthful about it.
All right, and moving on, Hamza, we're going to be talking about goal setting.
Yes.
And how can we really achieve some goals, especially as, for example, we want to talk as an employee and not a manager of a company. As an employee, we want to set achievable goals.
Yeah. See, goals are like wishes. They are like, like praying for God to get to somewhere. So when it is a very clear goal, when you are really clear about what you want and where you want to be, then it's more achievable. But if it's vague, if it's not, you don't know, or sometimes you say, I want to do this, and then the other day you say, no, I want. So it's like multitasking, or putting your efforts and energy in so many things. Then you are spreading your forces, you are becoming weak. But when you focus on one thing and you tackle that one thing, and once you become disciplined to achieve that goal, and once you achieve it, of course, we've been told about SMART goals or STRAMP, and the goal has to be very specific.
Yes.
And you have to have for yourself as an individual tracks, like is it trackable? Or how am I going to track my progress for achieving my goal, or writing my book on weekly basis, and kind of hold myself accountable and to do the right thing, or utilizing my time in a professional way for serving the process to achieve that goal.
All right, and achieving that goal, as you said, with the SMART technique and other techniques, comes with failures. How important, Hamza, are failures during the way?
Failures are good. It's like, failures are teaching you. They are lessons. So when you are doing something and you fail, you have learned not to do it that way, and to go to another way and try again. That's resilience, that's grit, that's being, it's like, it reminds me when we were young, riding the bicycle or learning how to ride the bicycle. We fell down, and sometimes we scratch our arm or our knees, but then we get up again. What makes us get up again is we want to, because we want to, we're willing to sacrifice those failures, or, go into failures, but failure doesn't make me give up. And we have, Thomas Edison is very famous for, I think he did like 999 times to create the bulb, and then after that he was able to do it. Most of us, we go to a project, through projects, and we fail in that project, and then we do another project and we fail. The third project you fail, you say, khalas, this is it, that's my capability, I can't. And when you say you can't, it's true, you can't. But when you say I can, you can, and you will do it.
Hopefully, and dear viewers, I'm sure listening to Hamza Taqi's advice, any goal you have really will be reached, inshallah. And we want to learn more from Hamza Taqi about the strategies, Hamza. If it's a long-term goal, for example, how can you stay motivated, for example, for 10 years, for 5 years? What are the strategies?
First of all, the best strategy is chunking big goals. So you chunk them in a smaller, and you have milestones. So once you finish a milestone, you celebrate as if you are achieving that goal. And then you go to the second milestone, and then once you achieve that milestone, you celebrate. So those small wins along the way makes you consistent and continuing to pursue that humongous goal. But when you have a big goal or long-term goal, you look at it as far away, it might demoralize you, and it might, lower your energy. But if you chunk it in small pieces or phases, whenever you finish a phase, you celebrate finalizing the first phase, and then you go to second phase until you reach the 10th phase. So it's psychologically, you want to help yourself staying consistent and disciplined, and especially if it's a long journey. And when you celebrate the small wins, that gives you the confidence inside that, well, you are taking it step by step, and you are reaching that, that long-term goal, and that gives you the confidence to continue and to be patient enough to pursue your long-term goal.
Yes, and as you mentioned before, taking notes also on the way, and celebrating, not in a big way to lose all the gains that you had from your goals. Yes. So talking more about balance, what do you recommend for people who are pursuing multiple goals at the same time?
Well, that's multitasking, and when you are pursuing multiple goals at the same time, you are doing a little bit here, and then you lose focus, and you go to the other project, and you're doing a little bit there. And by the end of the year, you haven't done any of them, or you haven't accomplished many of them. So the idea is to focus on one. And the one you focus on is the biggest task or the biggest goal that you want to achieve. Because the smaller goals, they can be done in the process once you are tackling that big goal or that long-term goal. So basically, you want to focus, and you want to prioritize, and you see where your priorities, instead of thinking of 3 things to do today. No, I want to do one thing, I want to focus on it, I want to finish it, and then I'll jump to the other task. And that would be the best way to do it. And that's why, there are many studies that say men are expert more than women, even in the industry, in the industry of more women there, like a coiffeur. Men are really good, or a chef. Men are better than women, although we know that women cook more. But the idea is that because they are focused, they're not doing other things. They're only focusing on that thing, and that's how you win on the long run.
Yes, inshallah, and I'm sure men and women, as you said, have different balances in their life, and achieve certain goals in their life to make them live healthy, and also with the time management to produce such a creative life for them. So Hamza, we want to really listen to a last advice from you today for us and our dear viewers watching us.
Well, I always say that we need to feel our thoughts and observe our thoughts, what's going on in our, especially in these days, what's going on in our mind, and become the observant, because our thoughts dictate our feeling, and our feeling will influence our behavior. So if you want to change, you really need to settle your mind and not to overthink, and taking a deep breath and appreciating النعمة, the fortune that we have, and becoming grateful. That's that's how we live in a much abundance and success.
Yes, we thank Allah Almighty for that, and also your advice, Hamza Taqi, is a blessing for us, and I'm sure our dear viewers are enjoying.
I hope
also.
so.
So I want to really thank you for joining us here on Hala Kuwait today, and inshallah, hopefully we'll see you again with more questions for you.
It's my pleasure. I'm always available. Thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure is ours. So dear viewers, let's